Doing great. How about yourself?
Yeah.
Oh, I can't complain. Cannot
Looking
complain.
mighty red today.
Oh, it's baseball season. Baseball season. I got to keep the Braves colors flowing. Well,
Oh, I hear you.
I'll alternate. Today it'll be Braves. Tomorrow I'll swap over to more kind of tones like y'all wear for my Boston Celtics. So I kind of go back and forth.
There you go.
Well, we like you in green.
Well, green is my favorite color. I will say that. I wrote a book that I ended up titling it Deep Green because it is my favorite color. So I like green as well.
I'm sure there's a story behind it, though, on how green became your favorite color.
My church league basketball team, our color was green. And
There it is.
yeah, is that kind of that Kelly green color. And
Kelly green. There you go.
Yep. And that was why. So
That's great.
yeah. Well, let's dive in, fellas. So I want to ask you both. Whoever wants to go first can. Will, if you want to go first, that's fine. Y'all have had time to reflect now on 2023. Just how special was that season?
It was obviously, it was very special, and it started with a group of kids. I've been blessed to coach that group, particularly for 6 years straight, going all the way back to their seventh grade, and then made the transition their freshman year. So, really digesting that whole season, digesting the rest of this year, and getting to see some of them sign to play college ball and go on to the next chapters of their lives. And it's been very exciting, but it's been tough to turn that page. But that's definitely something that we've started firing up and started to bear down on.
How about you, Mike?
I think it was, absolutely special for a lot of reasons. One, this was, I think, one of the first years that we had complete buy-in from a culture standpoint. The kids were all in. The locker room leadership was phenomenal. And when you go through that process, you hope to see the results on Friday night. It was never the absolute intent of ours. We have bigger objectives in what we're doing from a coaching standpoint, but you want to see them get the results. And quite frankly, it usually takes care of itself. When you get that buy-in and you get that leadership emerge from the locker room, you want to see them have some success. So, for us, I think the special part of it was seeing those young men enjoy the results and the fruits of their labor. And to Will's point, the challenge now is sustaining that, right? Being able to sustain that same belief and drive that each kid had.
Let's talk about sustaining it, because there's a lot that's graduating. You start with just, obviously, Carson McFadden at quarterback and all he did, but then, a guy like Zach Archer in the backfield and certainly a lot of other guys. But how do you sustain that and keep this train moving, in a positive direction?
We've been blessed that we've had some young guys get some experience over the years. This rising senior class, I think right now there's only 8 or 9 of them playing, and that's just how that senior class up in the school is. There aren't many boys in it, but our sophomore class is very heavy. The rising juniors, I think we've got 26, 27 in that class that a majority of them had to contribute and had to be put in those big roles last year. Now it was easy for them with kids like Carson, Zach. You had Max and Nutter and all of them that were able to kind of carry the load, and they just had to kind of play a role here and there. But they were able to get some experience, and hopefully we build from that, and that they're able to learn from kind of what the seniors had solidified as what the standard is.
Yeah. And Max signed with what? Was it Rhodes?
Rhodes. Yep.
He did.
Yep. How's that, Mike?
It's exciting. It's a little daunting when my wife mentioned that we need to go to Memphis on Saturdays, which, you of all people can appreciate the rigor of a week of football in high school. And Saturday's usually my day to be dead to the world, if you will. So, but I'm excited for the opportunity. I think, what was encouraging is, and we don't see it a lot with a lot of the youth today, but they want to keep playing. And, there's opportunities to keep playing, but, he loves the game. He loves every aspect of it, the brotherhood, the camaraderie. And a lot of that, I give credit to Coach Mayer and how he runs the program at John Carroll, because the kids do have fun, and football is supposed to be fun. They learn and they compete, but they still have fun and enjoy that aspect, and they want to keep playing.
Absolutely. What is it? Talk to me a little bit about John Carroll as a school. I talk a lot with some folks at Briarwood, which is similar kind of schools. That private type aspect of it. What are some things that you guys do maybe in school with the football program, maybe a character type thing, programs, stuff like that? Like what do y'all do at John Carroll?
So first off, with John Carroll kind of being a smaller environment, with us being in 5A, and really because of the multiplier, we actually have 4A numbers. So having that one-on-one relationship, having those tighter relationships with just everybody in the school, and that nothing against any other school, but you can sometimes get lost in the wave of things, and could just be a number somewhere else. Where here, it is an individualized, like, 4 years, and that doesn't matter if it's football, baseball, track, or in the classroom. And that's something that we pride ourselves in, is all coaches work together to make sure that if a kid wants to play multiple sports, he can play multiple sports. I think it came up, Carson McFadden had lettered in his 4 years here, had lettered in 7 different varsity sports, from tennis, golf, indoor track, outdoor track, baseball, football, basketball. So being able to have the ability to enjoy your high school experience, you don't have to pick one sport. You don't have to pick one activity. We've got kids that, we're working with our curriculum department over the summer, where we're adjusting some of our summer workouts because they're doing an ACT boot camp. So it's everybody works together. Everybody's on the same page, moving the needle in the same direction. And that's a testament to our administration, to Father Chalmers, our president, to Coach Steele, our principal, Dr. Katie King, who came in as the curriculum director, which she was a graduate in the 90s here and ran track, cross country. So, it's all driven by the experience for the kids. And that's kind of on the big level of what the school what the target is. But when you discuss character development, and this is something that other sports are now starting to pick up as well, but something that, and I give Mike and a lot of our staff a lot of credit for this. 4 years ago, or I guess it was after our first year, we sat down and we realized that, all right, to be able to change things here at John Carroll, where the prior 10 years, the record, and just speaking of the record, it was 14-86. And so coming into 2020. So then we went through that first year, and we had a little bit of success for what our definition of it was at the time, for compared to the last 10 years. But then it was, all right, what do we need to do to get over that hump? So we sat down, we said, we want something that we can lean on for when we need to snap the kids back in line, when we need to snap whatever it is. And so we sat down, we developed CAVWAY, and that's commitment, attitude, valor, and we are you. And so we went through it, we preached it, and that's but then we realized, okay, these are high school kids. So we went through a year of that. Well, then we had a little dip in the road, and it was almost like, okay, we're close, but we're missing something. It's almost like this is John Carroll Football Club up here. It's like it's a hobby. Like, pick it up when you want. So we realized kids do not understand the definition of commitment. what it truly means to be committed to something. They live in a Snapchat reality right now. Like I'm telling kids to create a group chat, and they said, okay, I got him on Snapchat. So you don't even have his number? No, I don't have his number. I just added him because he's close to me. And they make 10 like commitments that are 10 seconds at a time. They'll send a picture of a tree and say, hey, what's up? And then it's gone at 10 seconds. And so we realized that it was leaking into every aspect of their life. So we started diving into, all right, we've got to really dive in and teach these kids what commitment means. And we truly believe, I mean, we had a parent meeting last night for football, and we discussed this. I believe that football, high school football, is the last hard thing that a young man can go through before they step into the real world and those consequences start becoming real. We want kids to push the limits. We don't want them to have that fear of failure to where now they're not stepping outside of their comfort zone. Now, if I don't commit to it and it doesn't go well, oh, well, hey, I didn't really care about it anyway, you know, whatever. And there was a little bit of that around here. So that's kind of what sparked that. All right, we've got to find something. So it was I think we developed it's like 56, 66 page lesson plan that has zero to do with X's and O's, putting points on the scoreboard or anything that happens on a Friday night, but it is teaching it. And Mike knows this like the back of his hand, especially coming from West Point and the leadership position he's in his professional career. So I've leaned a lot on Mike to help with that. But so last summer we dove into that, and it's 14, 15 chapters. So every single day we were coming in, and that was the first hour of our July practice. When we get here at 7:00, kids are meeting in the library, and we're not missing a beat. Kids are ready to get there. They're showing up at 6:45 and meeting with their little small group before we get into this lesson plan. So it was absolutely game changing, and to see the kids buy into it, that's what also made it special. And Mike kind of touched on that, of them being able to see the results from them putting the work in, but also none of what we were diving into had anything to do with scoring touchdowns on Friday nights. And I mean, I could ramble on and on about it, but I know Mike, like I said, he can preach about that. And so I'm going to turn it over to him for a little bit.
Yeah. I mean, I think you hit it pretty well. I mean, our whole thing, Gary, was our objective of coaching is how do we develop the entire individual? And we know that some of these young men will be blessed to go to college and pursue their academic and athletic career, but many of them will not. So to Will's point on this is the last hard thing. How do we use the game of football as an outdoor classroom? I mean, we start with the motto too of a tradition of winners. You know, we don't necessarily say a tradition of winning because we're not necessarily focused on just the results on Friday night. Although, believe me, we want to compete and we want to win, but we call it a tradition of winners because what we're developing is young men that 10, 15 years down the road will contribute to society, whether as a business executive or coach, a teacher, a husband, a father. How do we enable them and give them those tools? So to Will's point, as we looked at what are some of those things we see in the youth today that hold them back? And Will mentioned fear of failure. We see self-doubt. We see, the ability to be resilient, to deal with adversity, to do all those things that we know, that you know, Gary, and Will knows, and I know as adults, that they're going to face every day. And the more adapt they are to understanding and maneuvering through that, the better they're going to be. So as we looked at that, it was really the intent to teach them what does that mean? You know, like fear of failure. A lot of kids like to stay in that comfort zone. We live in a society of comfort, right? You don't even have to go to the grocery store if you don't want to. You can call somebody to bring it. It's a world of convenience. So without having to put themselves out there and staying in the comfort zone, they never face the fear. They never face the growth. They never get to the growth zone. So they stay in the same place. So one of the things of going through and having them really understand it, and the pretext, a lot of it is built around there was a quote that General MacArthur used to say. He'd say, "Upon the fields of friendly strife are sown the seeds that on other fields and other days will bear the fruits of victory." And that's what he's saying. And that's what we incorporate. What we do in football, what we demand as it relates to attention to detail, as it relates to working with others and teamwork and having a purpose bigger than yourself. Because once they buy into a purpose bigger than themselves, then they put more out there because they don't want to let their brothers down. They want to sustain it and contribute and do the things they need to do. So when you get that, team ego that forms for all the right reasons, the scoreboard has a tendency to kind of work itself out, and it does. It's just worked that way. But that was the key, is going through and having them buy in. And what was amazing to me, and it kind of comes full circle to you asking how you sustain it, the kids are asking. They get it. They see what they did different last year. They see the results were different than they've had in the past, and they want more. I mean, they've reached out to Coach Mara about, hey, here's certain books we can incorporate into our lesson plan. So things they want to learn, leadership, right? Kids, leadership's one of those things that I don't know if kids really understand what it means to be a leader. You've got the natural instincts, but what are all the little things that can influence the people around you? A life of servitude, right? A servant leadership mentality. We tell the kids, if serving is beneath you, then leadership is beyond you, right? You lead, you've got to care about the people you're leading. So as they start to really get outside of their comfort zone and they start to kind of incorporate some of these things and reach for these things to grow and get better, you start to see a different individual, mold. You start to see that, we call it that piece of coal that you just start kind of carving the edges. Yeah. And then you see a confident young man emerge. And that's one of the things that, stood out to me last year. I've been with the program for this last year was my 4th year, was we didn't flinch last year. It didn't matter who we played. The kids didn't have any self-doubt, and they fought to the last play, the last whistle. They didn't flinch. They didn't have any fear of failure. They went in and competed, and that was fun to watch. And for us, you couldn't get them off the field. I know when Coach Mara first took over, one of the challenges we had was kids taking themselves out of the game. And we had limited players, and it's like, are you hurt? Are you injured? What's going on? And it was just, you didn't have that true culture that you needed where those kids were willing to lay it on the line for each other for every play and just keep fighting and get there. When kids used to be late, now kids are showing up early, getting extra work in. And they're starting to see the impact it has. And we're getting, a lot of kids that come to John Carroll, they come from other schools, and it's not necessarily for the athletics part, but what they're coming to is that the parents want their kids to develop into leaders. They want the whole individual developed, right? Not just, I want them to be a great football player. And that's what's been a blessing for us is kids come, the culture at John Carroll itself with the administration, like Will talked about, where they're working on the whole person, right? We're working on the academic side. We're working on the character side. We're working on the sports side. We use athletics and sports to develop the character. And that's kind of goes back to that tradition of winners, because we've had some great alumni that have moved on and done really super things. And it's amazing because they come back. I mean, Will's a graduate of John Carroll. I'm a graduate of John Carroll. We're a few years apart, but we both graduated John Carroll. And we've got probably 3 or 4 other people on the staff that graduated from John Carroll. So it builds that passion to really want to give back, and it goes back to that servant leadership mentality.
Man, y'all fired me up this morning. Like I'm thinking if I can, like, if I shave this off and fudge my birth certificate a little bit, maybe I can get a spot on this roster. I'm fired up, man.
We'd love to have you. But you'd be on the defensive side. Yeah, I'd be on the. I mean, hey, just don't make me run too much. I can maybe play a little in the middle somewhere maybe.
I'm not saying anything, but Carson McFadden just graduated. We need a.
Oh man, fire this arm up. I ain't got Carson's wheels. I ain't got Carson's anything. That kid was. I mean, he's lettered in 7 sports. How do you do that?
Well, and the one sport you forgot was tennis. That blew me away. You got a letter in tennis somehow in the mix of it. But that's and he's a great example, Gary, of the kind of young man blessed athletically. I mean, the kid's got a
Yeah.
40-inch vert, runs a 4.5. You've seen him play. He's a very athletic kid. He's also a very humble leader. You know, if you watch him with kids that, you know, freshmen, who it doesn't matter who they are, he embraces them all. He's got a unique combination of that humble leadership, but he's also a very level player. He doesn't get too high, doesn't get too low, but he's a strong competitor. So that's a hard mix, you know, to have in a personality
Sure.
that he pulls off. And he's one of those that I was really excited with his commitment to West Point, not just because I'm a graduate of West Point, but he's one of those that said, you know what, I'm going to lean into something that's going to challenge me. I'm going to, you know, for a kid like that, 32 ACT, 4.0 GPA, he could go to any university and be very comfortable and you know, do what he wants to do and be very comfortable. He chose to go to a place that, by the sheer nature of that place, wants you to live uncomfortable. They're going to force you to be uncomfortable. And for an 18-year-old to make a decision, say, I want to push myself because I want to be a better man, you know, says a lot about the individual. So I was excited to see him do that because he's perfect candidate for the United States Military Academy. Plus, I'd like to see him beat the heck out of Navy. So that's a double win.
Double win. Let's talk about this season a little bit. Coach Mero, I'm looking at what I think is the schedule here. So let's see. Y'all are in, what are y'all, 5A region? What region are y'all? 5 still?
Yeah, I think 5.
Yeah. 5. So I know Briarwood came back down, so they're now in region. Looking at non-region, open with Homewood again.
Yep.
That was unreal last year. And then the next week, is it at St. Michael?
At St. Michael's, yes, sir.
Is that Phillip Rivers' team?
It is, yes.
How wild is that?
Yeah.
How old are we? Are any of his 30 kids on the team yet? I don't know how old.
His son's the quarterback, and he can sling it. He's he's a stud. I think he was like a Max Preps All-American at the end of last year. He's I think he threw for like 4,000 yards or something. Yeah, he's an impressive player.
Man, he's just going to keep churning them out for several years. And then let's see, we go at Carver, Birmingham, Hayden, at Ramsey. That man, Ramsey. At Montevallo, that's non-region. Then Winona, at Briarwood, which I'm already lobbying for that to be my game, October 11th. So I've said that on a previous podcast already, so I'm putting it out there. Kyle Parmley's got to send me to that one. And then October 18th, Corner. You get a bye week, October 25th, and then finish the regular season with West Blockton.
Yes, sir.
How do you feel about the schedule?
Well, I'll say that we're definitely happy to get Pleasant Grove and Fairfield out of there. Those two are always tough. But it's one of those, and it's the typical coach talk. You got to take it one game at a time. We definitely know that those first two are going to be tough, and we want them to be and more so because we've got a lot of transition going through. We're going to have a new quarterback that not only for him but for myself, I've got to learn how to call plays a little differently, and that's something that we've been working on. He comes in here every day after school, and I mean, it's completely it's been his call. I mean, he'll come knock my door down and say, hey, can we get on the board and do some board work? And he's definitely a different type of quarterback. He's got a different skill set than Carson had. So working on making sure that he's got the playbook down, but definitely those first 2 weeks are going to be some trying to think, hammering out some details and a little bit of growth, but hopefully we can grow up a lot between those first 2 weeks before we get into region play. So the plan is take it 1 week at a time and have fun while we're doing it.
Yeah. Who are some guys to maybe watch for this year? Like we've talked about, you know, the guys from this past year with obviously Carson, Mitchell, Zach, Max, all those guys. But who are some guys that maybe contributed last year that you're looking to kind of take that next step this year?
So we've got a Mr. Reliable with Anthony Mokry at center. And he'll be a 4-year starter at that spot, and been very very solid for us to kind of base that O line around him. Karan Wright has gone both sides of the ball. He played some inside linebacker. He'll be carrying the ball a little bit more this year as well. And Braden Lowry. Those are 3 kind of key seniors. Braden Lowry has been outside linebacker, and he'll kind of be in charge of the defense. We got Little Plaia coming up, Alex, who is looking to take over Max's role as the middle linebacker and kind of make all those calls for us. Offensively, we've also got, or defensively and offensively, both of them kind of go both ways. You got Tristan Rutledge coming back. He'll be a junior, and Aubrey Walker, who actually just he got an offer from UAB last week. I mean, you want to talk about somebody that can fly? He can fly. So
I've seen. Well, I mean, I've seen it on the field, but I've seen some of his off-season camp, different stuff like that. He's he looks legit.
He can move. And he's been in the weight room and put some good pounds on too. So looking to lean on him and Tristan, Karan, and right now Garrett Barnes is the one that we're looking at for quarterback, and he's got all the tools. He's 6'3", 6'4", about 190. May not have the same wheels, but kind of keeping him in the pocket a little more. He's got a nice little arm on him and can spin it. So figuring out and that's some of that hammered down details for me in those first 2 weeks of having to get in a rhythm with him after being a little comfortable when Carson's out there and it's 3rd and 10, call whatever you want, figure it out. So,
wow, man. So we'll end with this. I want to get this from both of you. Whoever can go first. What are you looking forward to most about 2024?
You want to go or you want me to go?
Either way. I mean, I can go. I'm excited to see how our young men respond. You know, this is we had a great year. I think it was the 4th best record in John Carroll history. 2nd round of the playoffs. I mean, a lot of success we had that I don't think the kids actually truly anticipated. Matter of fact, to Will's point earlier too, we had set goals in our meetings and we had to reset them in midway through the season because we'd accomplished most of them. So, you know, the expectations that these kids have are different. Their buy-in is different. And we talked the other day about you know, there's an old saying, burn the boats, where, you know, as military commanders would, you know, go drastically overmatched and they would burn the boat so there's no retreat. And that's kind of the mentality of, you know, this is not the quote John Carroll of old that everybody says you can't win. Our kids have a different expectation and they don't want to be the team that goes back to quote the John Carroll of old. So they're working just as hard, if not harder, than they have in the past. So I'm excited to see how they respond to the success we've had. And they got a little taste of, and I think last year they really believed we could have won it all. Really believed it in their hearts, and we believed it as coaches. And I think they still believe, and that's their expectation. It's no longer to have a winning record or to win some games. It is to go and win a state championship. So what's it going to take to do that? So I'm excited to see how they respond to Coach Mara's point. New kids will have to step up, and we do have a lot coming back with some experience. We have some great athletes, and now to see how they mold and fit together. Defensively, last year we put in a whole new scheme, and from game one we had to keep building on it. And this year, terminology and scheme, we're going into it with some knowledge already there, so we should be able to do a few more things than we've done in the past. So I'm excited to see how they respond to every bit of that.
How about you, Coach Mara?
I'd agree with that, and I'd build off of that with saying I'm interested to see the team identity. And as we had a lot of vocal seniors last year, the vocal leadership, and now we're they were the vocal ones for really their junior year too. So some of these guys that have had to step up in roles as underclassmen that are now your juniors and seniors haven't had to be in that leadership role. Well, we've got a lot of, and only having 8 or 9 seniors right now, which all of them have been contributors over the past few years. But seeing the juniors and the seniors that are kind of coming together as one, it's almost like now it's one big senior class because they're all relying on each other to form that team identity. And I call them quiet killers. We've got quite a few kids that are silent and they just go about their business. And I mean, they're in the weight room, and it's been one of the best off-season lifting programs that we've had, just because they come in, they do their work, and I mean, it doesn't matter if there's music going or not music going. I mean, they knock it out, they go with it. And I mean, I try and go in there and be like, hey, is everybody okay? Everything going all right? And it's just everybody's in there pumping. So I'm excited to see how that identity kind of develops, and if we're quiet killers all season and just have silent practices and see how fun that is.
And I will throw one other thing out is we have to lead by example as well. So we try to maintain a growth mindset, constantly seeing how we get better, what drills, coaches wise. I know we just added Coach Slade to the staff that has a huge amount of experience, played at Auburn, played on the national championship team, I think, and played in the Giants for 7 years or so. So bringing in more coaching talent continuously to help invest into the kids and invest in the program, we get that investment back. So I'm excited to see how adding the new mix and with new coaches and new players, to Coach Mara's point, what's that identity going to look like? And it's exciting to see that form, because as we know, identity is not what we want it to be. It's what others are going to perceive of us as we play and take the field. So as we create that, it's a fun process to watch. We get the advantage of getting to watch these young men develop and grow, which is a great role to have in life.
Yeah. And you said, so you're talking about Chad Slade?
Yeah.
I didn't know you added him to the staff. I know him.
Got him about a month or 2 ago.
Okay. I didn't know that. I remember I've sat with him before and done some interview stuff when he was over at Moody. So that's a big get. He's definitely a very experienced offensive line guy. So that'll be a great addition.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
and I still
brings
can't
a lot of excitement. I think the kid.
Go ahead, Mike.
I would say he brings a lot of excitement too. I mean, I love when you get, and I say this probably as an older man, when you get some of these young guys, they play the game, they love the game, and they want to pay it back. And we're very meticulous. I know Coach Mary is about which coaches we bring into the program, because again, our goal is beyond and bigger than just teaching football, but we know we've got to teach the fundamentals. But when you bring in a guy that has a passion for the game and has a passion for young people, it always brings excitement into the program as well.
Yeah, absolutely. No, that's awesome. I was just gonna end by saying I still can't believe Ronald Steele's the principal there, and that we're this old. Like I remember when they were, when Marty was leading the program and they were dominating all of Birmingham and the rest of the state. And Hewitt Trustful, where I went, was pretty good back then. I mean, we had Justin Tubbs at Hewitt Trustful, who went to Alabama before going to East Tennessee. Huffman at that time had Andre Smith was playing basketball, which was a sight to see. You didn't want that dude setting a pick. You were done. But they had Demetrius Jemison, Stanley Robinson, and then cream of the crop back then was Ronald Steele. Just unbelievable basketball player.
Oh yeah.
It makes you feel any younger. I was at the old school at John Carroll, so that'll date myself a little bit before they moved to the new school.
No air conditioning, walked uphill both ways.
Yeah, back when the guys were tough, right?
I know that's right. Well, I certainly appreciate both of you guys hopping on this thing, and that was fun. Y'all fired me up, and it's the season can't get here soon enough, and hopefully I'll be able to go to. I can't remember if I went to 3 or so John Carroll games this last year. We try to swap it up week to week. So I'm looking at the schedule, trying to figure out where I'll be and when. That Homewood game would be nice. I've got the Briarwood game on lock. That's where I'm going. Like Kyle, that's where I'll be. I love going out there to Briarwood anyway, and then it being John Carroll at Briarwood, now a region game. That would just be too much fun for me. So
we're excited to see you wearing your favorite color during that game too.
Yeah. Well, okay. I try to be careful, like, because y'all are in the business, y'all deal with parents and perception and stuff like that. We do too on a smaller level, but you will hear people, like, if we're covering both teams, like obviously John Carroll and Briarwood are both in our coverage area, so we're covering both teams. Whereas if y'all are playing like Carver, we're really just covering you guys. But on those games where, like, let's say if it was John Carroll at Briarwood and I wore a green shirt, okay, I'm gonna hear from some Briarwood parent, and they're gonna be like, "That's not very objective of you." Like, that's what I'm gonna get. So it's like, if you notice, most games, like, I'm not a press box guy. Even the schools that have really nice, new whatever stadiums and press boxes, I don't go in them. The only way I will go in them is if it is absolutely downpouring. I am an on the field, keep my own stats. I mean, you might as well give me the book for the game. And I try, especially when we're covering both teams, I try to do the first half on one side of the field and the second half on the other. Literally for that reason. I was on both your sidelines, I did one half here, one half there. It's a green team versus a blue team. I'll probably wear this red shirt.
You may have a career in politics. Gary. You got the mindset for it.
I'll tell you what, that's the last thing I want to do.
Will, let's get them a shirt made that says "because" and on the back they can just say it's my favorite color.
I've got a neutral gray hat for you too.
I like it. I'll take it. I'm just not going to wear it to your game. I appreciate you guys. Thank y'all for doing this. I really look forward to seeing y'all this fall.
Yes, sir. You too.
We appreciate everything you do, Gary.
Thank y'all.
Have a good one.